This is the craziest prenuptial agreement I've ever heard in my life, but would you sign it? Shout out to Renee over on the Discord for sending me this video to react to. It looks like it's going to be extra spicy, and this is raw. I have not seen this yet. This is my first take on it, so you're going to get my true real reaction. But if you would like to suggest videos for me to react to and you want to interact more with the community, you can join us over on Discord. Just visit lyonmentalhealth.com, send me your email address, and I will send you the links to all the free goodies that the subscribers get. But now, on to the video. Divorce expert reveals the most outrageous prenup deal that he's ever heard. All right.
The most shocking prenup I've ever seen, which was enforceable, had a provision that
Which indicates that there must have been prenups that he's seen that were not enforceable, which I want to know that story as well, but I don't think he's going to go into it.
it said that for every 10 pounds the wife gained in the marriage, she would lose $10,000 a month in alimony. He was
Wait, that's enforceable? I mean, I guess if you sign it and agree to it, there's very little that you're like limited to that is like a non-agreeable clause. Oh, it just screams, you're my property. Ugh.
was very concerned that she was going to become less attractive and he was going to become more wealthy. So his solution to this was in the prenuptial agreement. He wanted a clause that said if they divorced, she was going to get like $70,000 a month for alimony.
That's pretty wealthy. I 70,000 a month just in alimony. I wonder how much he's making a month than otherwise. This is a different stratosphere of being alive. Jeez.
Every 10 pounds she gained from the date of marriage, she would forfeit $10,000 a month worth of alimony.
You see, you and I are watching this and seeing this and being like, who would do that? What a crazy thing to like even think about or suggest. Like, that's so unkind. But here's the thing. If you are watching this video, my follower base has a pretty unique type. You all are generally in 30s and up, right? And usually female, and also usually very empathetic, very emotional, struggle with really intense dreams and nightmares. And so we're watching this together, right? Me and you, the community. And we're thinking, oh my God, how could anyone be like that? But you have to remember, not everyone is like you. There are many people who do not have empathy, right? When they're entering into this agreement, a marriage, they're saying, hey, this is a contract. I am purchasing your beauty and sexual pleasure for myself, and in exchange, I'm going to give you money. And it's very transactional that way. So if you look at it in that lens, especially if this is like a business person who has brokered business deals, they're thinking this is a business deal, right? I am purchasing your attractiveness and sexual availability in exchange for money. And so if you lose your sexual attractiveness or availability, then I'm going to give you less money because I'm not getting the goods and services that I purchased. There are many people who think that way. And so I challenge you, if you're shocked by this kind of thing, you may not be realizing just what a wide variety of human beings there are in the world, and that many people think this way. I don't think it's the majority, but there is a good number who don't have that empathy and don't think this way. It's not emotional. It's not kindness. It's business.
And it was designed to sort of create an incentive that she would remain thin. And that was enforceable, meaning they tried to challenge and set aside that provision. And the court said, this is a disgusting provision. I don't know why you married this person.
Yeah.
But it's enforceable. It's a contract. The two of you.
Let's talk about like why they would marry that person. I find that oftentimes, and this is huge. I find that oftentimes two things can happen. One, they are so bedazzled by the money, the wealth, and the success that they don't pay attention to the emotional red flags along the way. It's like a bait and switch, right? If I were to take, like my drink here and just throw it across the room, you'd be paying attention to me and throwing my drink and not how maybe like the color of the blanket back here changed, right? So it's like an illusion. It's like a magic trick on the street. If I clap over here, you're not going to see that I stole your watch. You know what I'm saying? And so that can happen inside of relationships, and you need to be careful of this. That's number one. Number two is I often find those who are very empathetic and emotional, especially if they have ADHD, they struggle to recognize the red flags in their partner who can tend to be narcissistic or even antisocial because they struggle and they don't pay attention to the story that's being told along the way. If you start to connect the dots about the person that you're with, you'll see they don't care about people. They don't have empathy, they don't have kindness in their heart. But because you are so full of kindness, you project your kindness onto them and you ascribe to them kindness and motivation towards empathy for others that is yours and not theirs. So there's a confusion about the emotional interplay that's going on inside the relationship. I see that all the time, and it's how people get into really nasty situations. I'll give you a fantastic example. I know I'm being long-winded here, but this information could save your life. I see it all the time when I work with those who survive sexual trauma. They will often want to go back to that person, and they will often lie to themselves saying it wasn't as bad as it was, or I must be misremembering it, because the brain is trying to help you cope, but it's trying to help you cope by telling you a lie. And this is the lie. It is a horrifying reality and a scary truth to admit that there are some people who do not care how much they hurt you and in fact will enjoy how much they hurt you. That is a very scary, real, and honest truth. And when you come in contact with a person like that, it can be so shocking and so traumatizing that your brain wants to say, no, that can't be it. I must have just misunderstood. I must just be misremembering. I must just be not understanding the full context of the situation. And so you'll make excuses for this person over here because admitting the truth that this individual doesn't have empathy and would enjoy hurting you is so horrifying. Imagine that you get into a dating relationship and you sleep with somebody who's like that. It's a very vulnerable, intimate place to be. It's hard to admit to yourself that you might have just had sex with somebody who would enjoy hurting you and would not mind using you for their own personal gain. That may be the truth, and so our mind likes to lie to us about that because it's scary to admit that you got that close to somebody who could hurt you really, really bad. So don't do that. I know I'm being long-winded, but listen, I hope that this saves you from heartache, saves you from, at the very least heartache, but at the most, maybe save your life. If this is something that resonates with you, please consider sharing this video with somebody who needs to hear this kind of message. Let's get back to this crazy prenup.
You signed it and you had a right to sign it and you agreed to these rules, and they may be ridiculous rules, but you agreed to them. And you have a right to do that. I think it's a kind of love. I think it's a form of love. Is it a form of love I'd be interested in? No, I think it's very shallow in some ways. There's something very honest about it. I mean, you can't argue with the fact that there's something very upfront about it. He was making very clear and putting in writing, here's the value you bring to this relationship. I consider your physical appearance vitally important to this relationship. And by the way, don't skip the other side of that equation. She was going to get $70,000 a month. That's a very impressive number.
That's what I was saying. That's a lot of clams. That's a lot of moolah. Quite the number of doubloons. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's true. It is very honest. And, you do see this in the kink community. Like, it is a kind of love. It is a kind of love, and it's sometimes a type of love that people enjoy engaging in, because in some ways, when you take the emotions out of it, it can feel safe. There's no emotional connection here. It's all transactional. So I feel a little bit safer because maybe in some people's minds, the emotions are scarier than the transaction. And so there's a lot of people who engage in that kind of relationship. I would also argue that, yes, there's love, but that love may be self-serving. And so the only love that exists in that kind of relationship is a love for oneself. This person's saying, hey, I'm purchasing a person for my own enjoyment, and I'm willing to part with this amount of money to bring that enjoyment to my life. And so there is love in that relationship, but I don't think there's love in the relationship. There's love in the relationship because I'm in the relationship and I love myself, but there's not love between the relationship. You get the difference? I think I agree with him here.
So I think she also understood there was a value to be attached to him as well. Is it something I would be interested in on either side of that equation? No. But Do I have a right to say to someone that's not love? I don't think I have a right to say that to someone. I think that
it's a good point. It's a good point. Like, if somebody wants that kind of relationship, it's a free country, right? There's certain things that are just beyond anything that a civilized society would do. But if someone wants to agree to it, they're right.
if this is an economy the two of you have agreed on, as a lawyer, see, my job as a lawyer is not to look like, I don't look at it that way. I look at the engineering of it.
Yes.
So like if I'm representing her in that transaction, all I could think is, okay, so we're going to want her baseline weight to be as high as possible. So I'm going to want her to have pennies in her pockets at the day we sign the prenup, because you'd have to establish a baseline, right? Because if you say gaining 10 pounds, you'd have to establish a baseline weight on the date of the marriage. So if I'm her, I want that to be as high as possible.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be putting pennies in my pockets and eating as many cheeseburgers as I can before the weigh-in. Now we're getting divorced. I'm going to be like a wrestler. I'm going to be in the sauna. I'm going to be sweating as much as I can. I'm going to take diuretics. I'm going to eat nothing but like grilled vegetables for a week or two, I'm going to take off every ounce of clothing I can because I want to minimize my weight. This is why lawyers don't get invited to parties, because that's how we analyze problems.
And this is why lawyers end up in my office. I work with a bunch of lawyers because it fucks with your head. It really does.
Like, I didn't hear that and go, what is the nature of their coupling? I looked at it and I went, oh, I could play with that. I could, whoever I'm representing in that transaction, I could figure out a way to, kind of make that work.
And that's the kind of lawyer you want on your team. Listen, if you want me as your mental health expert on your team, hit the subscribe button down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.